You want to talk retro?
Yeah, let's talk a little retro. Let's talk a little weird retro hybrid.
We covered this on the podcast before. The Hyperkin Smart Boy. It was April Fool's
In
2015.
And it was actually confirmed by Hyperkin to be in production. And we reported on that, and everyone gave a shit saying that we were still falling for an April Fool's joke. And here we are. It's actually coming out. What's different about it?
Well, let's back up. What is this device?
So what this is it's a cradle for your smartphone. Now, initially it was said to be iPhone, Android. Right now they are simply stating Android only, which I think made sense to us all the way from the beginning because the iPhone was far too locked down to really allow for this sort of thing. It's a cradle that you can slide your Android smartphone into with a cartridge slot on the back for Game Boy games, which will effectively turn the top half of your smartphone into a Game Boy screen, while the cradle will house the D-pad, the A and B buttons, start and select.
And with the same color scheme as the original Game Boy.
Right. This is a nifty, neato bit of tech, but I'm still wondering what the market for is here. Because if you still have to buy cartridges, which is good, I mean, I guess you can't really... even though my stance on emulation is pretty soft and so is yours, you can't exactly have... you can't release a system that is for emulation only. You get legally shut down. Mm-hmm. So price point's going to be a big deal here. Because, yeah, your smartphone's going to give you a nice, crisp picture, and it's going to look good. But what's the cost of the Smart Boy? What's the cost of the Smart Boy going to be compared to a Game Boy Advance SP, which is already backlit and does more than what this is going to do?
It does Game Boy Advance as well.
Yeah, because it does Game Boy Advance as well. You can argue space things, but you know what? You're not always going to have the Smart Boy on your phone, so you're still taking up extra space. So the Smart Boy plus your phone is really no different than your SP plus your phone, which leads me to believe that this is going to sell solely on whiz-bang factor, and we're going to see a lot of these trying to come into the store used. And
this is going to be something you're going to see on like one of those, what the hell was that? What was that website that would do like those one-day geek sales? Where
Think Geek?
No. It was like a Mojo or something.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I just don't remember.
I haven't heard of it in like 3-4 years, but it was like, oh, buy this. You got 1 day to buy this. It's like 80% off, and then like everyone buys it and throws it out the next week.
Right.
This is where this is gonna be sold.
Yeah.
Where people are gonna buy it, because anyone in the retro gaming world that is gonna play Game Boy games, like you said, this will be the last choice I go to, unless this is like $20 or less. Unless this is cheaper than getting a real alternative, buying your own Game Boy Color, or buying, like you said, like buying an SP. Why would you get this ever?
Yeah.
There's just no reason.
I mean, depending on the model of SP, you can get an SP at a flea market for $20 to $25. You can, in nice condition, you can get one-on-ones for $50 to $60. I really wonder where they're trying to go with it. The backlight, not a selling point. The nice screen, probably not really a selling point for most people, and the added bulk, definitely a turnoff.
When you look at it from the side view, it's as thick as an original Game Boy.
So it didn't look that thick to me, but it's still too thick. It's still too thick.
It's 4 times the thickness of this cell phone, at least, from what I'm looking at. So that's like 2 inches, we'll just say. 1.5, 2 inches.
No, I mean, it's got to have room for the cartridge port, plus, yeah.
It's at least a Game Boy Color, at least.
Yes, that I'll agree with.
So once you get to that point, it's not convenient. You're not gonna go out in the town and put this in your pocket. You might as well get an Atari Lynx and do that. Try to shove it in your pocket in those commercials.
The other question is, you have to build this to some sort of size specification. So you're already limiting it to Android.
Limited edition.
Then what Android phones are you limiting it to?
They're gonna have to make it for the bigger ones, but maybe not the huge fucking mini iPad size ones. Like maybe like the 6. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a Droid phone, but the ones that are huge that you can use as a frisbee.
And honestly, I'm not loyal to one type of phone or another.
No,
I have an iPhone. I might have a fucking Android next. But the difference is iPhones come in generally 2 sizes. At this point.
Yeah, because that's a brand. Droid's a platform.
Right, and those come in all shapes and sizes. So is your phone even going to support it if you were the target market for this?
Because maybe, yeah, right. Because maybe the screen will be off a little bit. What if your phone's too small? Do they have to like lock it in somehow? Would the buttons have to shift to hit the spot? Which you have to, I guess it would probably most likely be in the app itself. You'd have to say what size is your phone or what model is it in order to place the digital. But
this has to be this has to be $20.
It has to be.
This has to be.
Because I'm just bringing up the issues now that it's going to face people.
Yeah.
And then what about how's it going to affect the battery life? Is the power going to run off of your phone? Or is it going to be a separate charge for the device? That's a huge one. Because think about if it has to read your game or then constantly. If this is not running off emulator, it's actually like running it somehow. Is there going to be issues with the battery? Could be. So it looks like they say it might be out for holiday season this year.
We also have to keep in mind that even if it's using some sort of emulation, that having your screen on constantly is going to drain your battery rather quickly.
Oh, absolutely. Especially if it's gonna be bright.
Yeah.
Like a backlit. If you're gonna emulate a backlit GBA SP101, oh, absolutely. You'll cut it in half.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that on Droid phones and even on an iPhone, I have the iPhone 4. It's gotten a lot better.